Let's jump to this next story. This is from the Washington Post. Trump seeks delay in New York hush money case sentencing until after the election. Trump's lawyers asked a judge to delay sentencing for his criminal conviction for falsifying business records scheduled for September 18th until after the election. I don't think they'll delay it. And we've got this tweet now. This was just brought up by Hannah Claire and Danny here.
Yeah, that's
Tony Saruga says multiple high-level sources have stated the New York City Department of Correction is making arrangements for Donald J. Trump's arrival at Rikers Island in September. He tweeted this. This is just yesterday. President Trump will 100% be sentenced to prison on September 18th. I'm told the sentence will be 1 year, but we'll see. The Marxist judge could change the sentencing at the last minute, but he's definitely sentencing President Trump to at least 1 year. Rikers Island already has special accommodations ready. This is 2 months before the election. This has got 3.1 million views. I don't know what his source is. This guy is just, he's a contractor. He's a philanthropist.
CIA
whistleblower.
Is that what he says? CIA, NSA contractor, whistleblower, Intel Ops.
Yeah.
I'm assuming he's probably got some sources, but it is all rumors right now. Yeah. However, Hannah Claire made a good point. Kamala's not committing to any dates past September 10th for a debate because she maybe knows something Trump doesn't.
Mm-hmm. There you go. I mean, that's a massive wrench in this whole thing. If he's literally like... I don't think my brain can actually process the idea that...
I think it'd be really hard to wrap your mind around that in one summer, somebody shot him while on stage at a rally and then they sent him to prison. Like,
sure,
that's really crazy optics. But also when Trump has these kind of like momentous legal moments, I think back to the Atlanta mugshot release, support for Trump surges. And so I think it would be more about ego if there was, a judge or someone who was like, no, we have to send Trump to prison. Like they are no longer playing the long game at that point because you can still run for president from prison, or at least for federal office.
So if he goes to prison, he gets elected, he wins on November 5th. Like, do they bring cameras into the prison?
I have to say, I don't know.
Is he just sleeping?
The state's going to argue.
Watching on his little like.
They're going to say it doesn't matter if he's president. He's still in prison at the state level.
So can he pardon himself?
Not at the state level.
So then what? Just the first 8 months of his term is just he's incarcerated?
Would he need Hochul, the governor of New York?
I think
he's not going to do that.
I got to be honest. If it were me, and I was sentenced, and we know these charges are nonsense. They're psychotic. I would just instruct the Secret Service to open the doors. That's
I don't think the Secret Service has that. They would have to instruct the actual guards of the prison. Like, I think the Secret Service is essentially
like a jurisdiction question.
Yeah, well, they can't just open up the jails. I assume they're just there to protect him from other prisoners while the COs do their job.
But a lot of time, state agencies, like when, the FBI or some other federal law enforcement agency comes in, they're like, okay, we defer to you. Like, does that work for the Secret Service as well? I don't know.
Like,
different bureau entirely.
Guys, if I was the president and New York locked me up, if I was in jail and then I got elected and they said, you're the president now, and they said, it doesn't matter, you're not leaving, I'd be like, okay, send in the Army, Insurrection Act. Like, there's no question. They're not going to keep the president of the United States in a state jail. It's not happening.
Yeah.
And also,
will they keep him at least up into the, how many days after the election?
I think they'll lock him up.
Does he go Shawshank style?
What if Trump
a lot of
escapes?
people saying house arrest, like because he's too complicated to keep in prison. You can't actually do that, but that would still take him off.
If Trump has an ankle monitor, I'm going to lose my mind.
I thought house arrest, but Brandon Strzok made a better point. He said, "Why stop? Why would anyone make? He's like, why would you make the argument that they're going to be tempered now when they've been going as hard as possible nonstop the whole time?" And I'm like, yeah, good point. They want him in a jumpsuit.
They went the hardest possible about a month ago in Butler.
Who is they though?
I don't know.
Head trap.
No idea.
Isn't it weird though that the last? I hate to steal that.
The people who hate Trump.
Correct.
That's how I describe it. Like the people who hate Trump, they hate him so much that one of them tried to kill Donald Trump. We don't know how it happened, how he was let in. There's new photos of him.
Don't know anything.
There's a photo of him walking around with the gun. There's a photo that came out showing him walking around early with the gun, and like nobody stopped him, nobody said anything.
Crazy.
I don't buy it.
We're waiting for the classic FBI.
Yeah, and it's been what, a month, and we just don't know anything.
But we can talk about Iran, right? Like they're up to bad stuff. There's like such a shift in that narrative now. What I was going to say is, isn't it weird that the last debate of this cycle could be the vice presidential debate? Normally, it's like you get a presidential debate, you get you might get two, and then a vice presidential debate, and then the last one is typically another presidential debate. There's like 3 every cycle.
Yeah.
But Kamala's only agreed to this one in September, even though Trump has offered multiple. Vance and Walz have agreed to this October 1st debate, so that'd be a VP debate. They've also, J.D. Vance has offered to debate earlier in September. But maybe Trump is going to be in prison, and that's why we're not scheduling more debates. Like everything seems so out of rhythm.
Not even like a regular jail, too. Rikers Island,
right? Kamala, if she was smart, she'd debate him in prison.
That'd be so funny.
Yeah,
just on the phones.
Yeah,
just on the phones.
Like
through
she
the glass?
shows up, and they like get a stage, and then he's in an orange jumpsuit, and they're making him do the debate.
And instead of regular people who are into politics and go watch it, it's all of the.
Yeah, it's just all the people Kamala Harris locked up in.
He'd win in a landslide like that. In an orange suit.
I mean, people say that if he gets arrested, he's going to win, but he got shot in the face.
Shot in the face, 34 felony convictions.
And he's not up in the polls, so I don't know what that means. I think this country is just hyper-polarized and on the verge of falling apart.
Well, I also think they stopped talking about the assassination attempt.
Well, he was
just saying they stopped all of this investigation that we should hear about nonstop is like
because Biden
third-tier news right now.
Biden announced literally he had so much heat and so much juice from the assassination. Mm-hmm. It was all going his way. And then Biden 6 days later basically is like, I'm not running. And then that was the new story.
That was the only way Democrats could reclaim.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was a smart move.
And the news cycle's so fast. It's here.
It's fast, but it was an assassination attempt of a presidential candidate.
But now everyone has to, like, all the journalists have to do this.
It's not like preseason football's back on.
No, it's totally different. But people do have to do all this research to be like, well, Kamala, what was her background? Oh, there's Walz now. Actually, it might be Shapiro. Like, there's sort of all of this narrative building that mainstream media has to do that I can understand where they think this is the priority over this, like, really slow and unclear investigation into the FBI and Secret Service led by Congress.
I mean, if this was the other way around, the news story cycle would be, why is this investigation so slow? What is going on here? Like, if
because
it's the other
they would
way,
care about it.
Well, they would care and they would make it a focal point. They're choosing not to.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that American people have forgotten it the way the mainstream media has?
I mean, some people, half the country didn't care to begin with.
That's
and
fair.
But
yeah, people who care about it, I feel like that made them more motivated. Like, it was interesting to me how many people, because we went to Milwaukee for the RNC right after, and I would like Uber to the convention, and these people would be like, yeah, I didn't really care about it, but that was like a big moment. Like, I think even if the mainstream media isn't talking about it, there are average voters who cannot get the image of Trump standing up on that stage out of their head.
Yeah, well,
it is actually interesting that it's a month out from the assassination attempt, and it's just not really news anymore.
No.
That's kind of nuts.
I mean, honestly, you hear, granted, JFK was a different story, but it's like, that is like a pivotal moment. That's like a milestone moment in this country's history.
If Trump were to have not tilted his head and died, it's not only that we would be still talking about it, but Joe Biden would be using it as an excuse for authoritarian lockdowns, control, just crazy.
I mean, he might not have stepped down.
He might not have stepped down. They'd enact crazy electoral changes and be like, there's going to be security, police everywhere now. This is during an election. Oh, they would blame Iran or Russia and then use that as justification to put security or
and
policing
gun violence,
all over the place.
Right? They would be like, look, this is what happens. We really need to have gun restrictions everywhere. I mean, it would be wild.
Even
the number of things they would pin to that.
Tim Walz, when he got his when he gave his speech or whatever, and he was talking about guns, it's like, you didn't reference this thing. You didn't even choose to reference because you probably would like.
But Democrats can't acknowledge it at all because if you remind anyone of it, it's such
even on the topic of restricting guns and gun control, you're like, they won't even point to that thing because it's bad for them.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose it's going to be one heck of an election season. It certainly feels like there's ebbs and flows to the chaos cycle. Like, one day, a far leftist walks up to a guy in the middle of the street in Portland and just blasts him in the chest, killing him. And then the next day you're sitting there, it's a slow news day, and Kamala's talking about, not having policies or whatever. And what ends up happening is whenever there's something in the news that's extreme or terrifying, like Trump's sentencing or Trump's conviction, people get that sinking feeling like, holy crap. But then as everybody waits, it slowly starts to normalize. People start to adapt to the circumstance, and then now it just feels normal again, and you feel like nothing is going to change. So let me just stress how far we've gone. They first accused Donald Trump of being a spy, a traitor to his country, who was put in this position as president by a foreign adversary. They impeached him twice. They accused him of an insurrection against this country. They failed. They charged him multiple times, accused him of rape. These things are all nonsensical. They arrested his lawyers. They arrested the Republican elector slates that did not win the election but were filing the paperwork. They arrested many of them. Donald Trump has been convicted now on 34 counts of made-up charges without due process. There's no underlying crime. The charging document literally says another crime that was never adjudicated. Trump never got due process. Then someone shot him in the face. Just think about how far things have gotten in this country. And so when I'm talking about this stuff and I'm like, 2018, man, this street level violence, if this polarization reaches the government, that's how you get civil war. And everyone's like, oh, shut up. Now add all those things together and people are still like, oh, shut up. I'm like, someone shot Trump in the face.
Yeah. I'm really.
I think in the head, his ear. I want to be clear.
In the head area.
In the head area.
I love that the head and face are not the same thing.
Not the same thing. I'm really hoping for, I think, a tie. That's what I was saying before, but the tie scenario. The tie scenario. So it's possible 269, 269. It's actually a possible thing. If it happens, then the House of Representatives picks the president, and then the Senate picks the vice president. So then theoretically, it would be Trump, Walz, or maybe Trump, Kamala.
Can you imagine her face if she had to be vice president
Insane.
again, and this time to Trump?
But that's what we need to bring this country together, is both of them.
Yeah, she was really devoted to unity.
Office.
She would work with President Trump.
Do they have to pick from the current candidates? Can they pick someone themselves who they want for VP?
I think they can pick anybody they want.
I think they can pick anybody they want, yeah.
So, that's wild. It's called a contingent election.
Yeah, it happened in 1824. It's happened one time
1824?
1824. It's happened one time.
100 years ago?
200 years ago.
Worse than
exactly.
That. Really?
200 years ago, exactly.
Really?
It happened in America.
1824 election.
It was the only time ever. I think it was Garfield. No, not Garfield.
Is it when they got together and
John
they decided to do the pick? They sat down on the table.
They had. Well, it was the House of Representatives had to pick the president, and because it's I guess if it was they controlled both, then it would be the same party. But
one of two. The 1800 election was also decided by the House.
Oh, okay. Well, last time it happened.
But then there was 1876, and that's where a committee got together and just decided who would be president. That's because they were scared that was going to be a Civil War too. So it's 76. It's a decade later, and they're like, guys, if we can't figure this out, everyone's going to start shooting again. We don't want that to happen. So what do we do? And they're like, okay, here's the deal. Reconstruction is over, and then you guys get to pick who the president is. They're like, okay, fine.
Thanks for watching this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to check out the live show Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. on this channel. Subscribe, and we'll see you all there.